Hello, hello, Swati.
Yeah. Hi, Valerie. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Today we are talking about education system in India, and I'd like to ask you several questions. So, it
Mm-hmm.
is well known that India is a country of contrasts and even contradictions. On one side, India maintained its own culture while other countries have lost. And despite the fact that India is a developing country, people from all over the world come here for medical care. For example, Ayurveda, how to pronounce it correctly?
Ayurveda. Ayurveda.
Ayurveda, okay, thank you. And it's really helpful and popular. On other side, we all heard that um, uh, there is extreme poverty in India. And of course, it's interesting to know if education system in India is a contrast too.
Yes. Thank you so much, Valerie. You could not have said it better. Actually, India is a country of contrast, and it's a country of dichotomy, almost in every walk of life, and the same applies to our education system as well. So in education sector, Indian education system is largely categorized into two main areas: private institutions and public institutions. So, and at and in even in this, there are schools, and then there is higher education, which means your bachelor degree, master degree, and doctorate, so on.
Mhm.
And there's quite a lot of difference in that as well. So let me first take you through the school system. If you want me to get into the details
Yes, of
right
course,
now.
sure.
Okay, thank
Of
you.
course, yes.
So, as far as the schools are concerned, Valerie, we have state-run schools, which are also called public schools, and then there are private schools, which are run by private individuals. So, there is a huge and a stark difference between the quality of education provided at these schools. I think it runs a wide spectrum from world class to almost dysfunctional in some places. So in in
What does
in
it mean,
public,
dysfunctional? What it means?
this dysfunctional means when something is not running properly, when something has been when something does not work as it's supposed to work. Okay, so in private schools, the level of infrastructure, teachers, curriculum, facilities is top notch, is almost world class in some places, and the students studying there have access to the most modern education system, and they mostly have a very good future. But unfortunately, the same cannot be said about our public schools. The public schools are not very well maintained, and in most of the public schools, I think the problem is funding. Maybe they don't get enough funding to upgrade their facilities
Mhm.
and infrastructure. The teachers are not so well educated, and I think the biggest problem with the public schools is that the medium of instruction until primary school, which is class 5, is Hindi.
Mhm.
After that, they introduce English. And I think even then, the focus is not so much on English. And unfortunately, English is again given a lot of preference here when it comes to getting admissions in higher colleges and even for getting jobs. So, if we come to think about it, the children who are studying in public schools get deprived of exposure to English language, and subsequently they suffer in their future because of this lack
Mhm.
of English knowledge. You know.
Yes, it's a big problem, as I understood, and as I understand now. So children from different sectors of the population don't meet at the same schools. That means that, or sometimes it happens.
Okay, let me explain that. mostly, like I said, because the government run schools have very low fees or sometimes even free education, the people from the economically backward classes of society or the marginalized section of the society, they send their children to government school because of the sheer factor of affordability. And from the more prosperous, more elite, more richer sections of the society, they send their children to private schools. Having said that, there is a very small percentage of seats which are reserved for economically weaker sections, even in the private schools. This is to propagate equal opportunities, equal educational access for children. But I would say that this is a very small percentage. It's not a huge number. So maybe in a class of 30, 36 students, one or two children are from the economically weaker section. So, they do meet, but the percentage is significantly low.
Significantly low. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Did you go to a private or a public school, or to a public school? It's not a secret, of course.
No, sometimes children from public school are also, if they make a lot of efforts, Valerie, they can do very well in life. But I was fortunate enough to get education in a private school, and that too in a Catholic school where the level of education discipline is very high. So I had a very good educational background, fortunately, and I think that really helped. But let me tell you, a lot of Indians, Valerie, Indians, they are very intelligent, they're very wise, and the ones who get good education, who have access to good education, they are highly skilled professionals who are in demand, not just in our country, abroad.
I understand, because you're my teacher. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I see that you are really intelligent presenter of your culture.
Yeah, I think that Indians are very intelligent. Some of them have access to better education and some of them don't. And I think the more efforts and more resources should be diverted towards making it an equal access, making it equal opportunities for education, right?
Okay, thank you. Did you like your private Catholic school with strict discipline?
At that time, no. At that time, I completely, totally disliked so much discipline. We were like, why can't we have some fun? We always had to wear our hair in braids, and we could not wear any fancy earrings or anything which was outside of the school. It was very strict, but I think that laid the foundation for us, and it showed us how to be professional. It showed us the value of professionalism. In retrospect, I feel that at that time I hated it. So, but yeah, it is a good system. And I'll tell you, I'm a Hindu and I studied in a Catholic school, which is also symbolic of our diversity. Valerie, we are a very diverse secular country, and that shows in our
there is some problems with connection. Swati, I'm here. Swati, hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me, Valerie? I can hear you. I can hear you.
I can. Oh, so I can't hear you, unfortunately.
Okay,
now. That's okay. The connection is good. Okay. So the last word was diversity.
Yeah. So I was telling you that I'm a Hindu, which is our 80% of population, but we are a secular country. So I am a Hindu and I studied in a Catholic school with a lot of Christians around me and people from diverse backgrounds in different parts of India. It is a representative of our our culture. We are a very diverse culture, and that reflects in our education system also. We have a lot of great Catholic institutions which provide, good education, and people from different cultures, different religions study in that. So that's also something very interesting about India. So I was a Hindu, but I grew up singing all Christian prayers throughout my schooling. So that's very interesting, and I think it's a part of my life that is very unique, and I'll never forget about it.
Oh, yes, I agree, because I think that this experience is amazing, absolutely, and it's very, this experience is very helpful for. Okay, so I received a message. I can hear you. Okay, Skype is a good thing. Okay, so thank you for sharing. So now I want to know about subjects at school. So what subjects are taught in Indian schools, and which one is the most important for the future?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, Valerie. So, Indian schooling is 10 plus 2. Why is it called, it's 10 plus 2?
What does,
Basically,
I'm sorry, but what does it mean, 10 plus 2?
yes,
So
exactly. So 10 plus 2 means we have 12 years of schooling. Out of this, 10 years are non-selective. Non-selective schooling. Non-selective means we don't select our subjects, and they are standardized for everybody. And in the last 2 years, we study selected subject based on a subject of our preference. So in those 10 years, in those non-selective years, we study on general education, reading, writing, arithmetic, supplemented with history, geography, and algebra, and so on. So there is a lot of emphasis on science and maths in India, but it is the final 2 years, the last 2 years, where we select our discipline, our field. So we choose between business, science, and arts, humanities, basically.
Oh, cool.
So that
Wow.
those 2 years are the defining years for our career, Valerie.
And what about English?
English. Yes, English is taught throughout our schooling. Valerie, right from the moment we enter kindergarten, we are taught English. It
From
is one of.
kindergarten even.
Yes, Hindi and English both are our official languages, and in private schools, the medium of instruction is English, which means we are taught everything in English, be it history, geography, science, maths. We study everything in English. So English is something that we study throughout the 14 years of schooling, and most of the Indians, you will see, have a good level of English. They're very articulate, they're very eloquent, and they speak well in English.
And have Indian students or pupils exam in English every year, or maybe at the end of some stages, for example, at the after the 10th class, or have they?
We have it every year. Every year, it is one of our subjects also. Along with a medium of instruction, it is one of our subjects, which means we study it very religiously. We study the different grammar topics. We study all these tenses. We study all the concepts, and we have to take English exams every year.
And does your daughter, is she 5 years old?
Yes, she's 5 plus. Yes.
Does she speak English now? No.
Yeah, yes, Valerie. Yeah. She speaks in English, although not as fluent as Hindi, maybe, because I made Hindi her first language. Now, from the last 1 year or so, I'm teaching her English, and she thoroughly enjoys it, and she learns new words every day. Yeah, so she does speak, but right now not as fluent as Hindi, because that's her first language. But Indian system, it really emphasizes English. I don't know why. English is considered to be the language of elite in India somehow. And people who speak in English are considered to be literate and educated, and people who don't it's vice versa. So I think the reason is what I explained earlier. It is the difference of good schools and substandard quality schools, and because in government schools the level of education is not so high, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this information.
I'm
Okay.
really enjoying answering them for you, Valerie, because Indian education system is very interesting. Even when I talk about it, it's very
Yes, and
interesting.
it's very interesting for me because our education system in Russia is not so bad. Now I understand it, but I see that there are a lot of intelligent people in India. It's really so. It's really so. And I respect Indian traditions and culture, and especially I respect the thing that India maintained its culture, because I think it's only my opinion that we haven't done that with our culture, unfortunately. So, okay, my next question is about teachers. Who are
Okay.
who are teachers in Indian schools? Who works in Indian schools? And what teachers? What teachers work in private schools, and who work in public schools?
Okay. I understand the question is related to the education background of the teachers, like who are the teachers? So let me
Yes,
answer.
for the teacher, are they educated, or maybe educated? And I understand that educated teachers are in private schools mostly. Uh, uh, mm, and
Okay,
who?
I think I understand what you are asking, Valerie. See, the teachers are educated in both private and public institutions. The difference is in the quality of education, and
Mhm.
that is again a vicious circle. Let me explain how. So, for becoming a teacher in India, you need to have a degree, a certain degree. If you pass that exam, you are called a teacher, and you can apply for teaching jobs in institutions, schools, private or public. I think if you have a good educational background yourself, which means if you studied from good institutions and then
Mhm.
you obtain the education teaching degree, then you will get a teaching job in maybe a private school. But if
Mhm.
you yourself studied from, let's say, a government school, and you did not get a lot of higher education and then you got a teaching degree, then you can get it maybe in a government school. So it's a sort of a vicious circle. You study
Mhm.
from substandard institutions, you go and teach in the government school. If you studied from good institutions, if you are eloquent, if you have good communication skill, teaching skills, you go to a private school. So the level of teachers, the quality of teachers is quite different. They are educated. It's the difference in their level and quality of education.
But as I understand, the salary in public schools is not so big, like usually in Russia too.
Definitely not. Private teachers are paid more than public teachers. But the good thing for public teachers is that because it's a government job,
Mhm.
they're eligible to get pension later in their life, which private school teachers are not. It's a government job, so they get the perks and benefits
Ah,
that.
if I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So if the teacher works at private school, so he won't have pension.
No, not absolutely not.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
that's a big advantage of being a government teacher in India. You will get the perks and benefits of a government employee. And secondly, nobody can ever fire you from your job. If you become a government school teacher, you will retire as a government school teacher unless you change the job yourself. Nobody is going to fire you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and the same situation. There is the same situation in Russia. So
Oh.
we go to government schools or other uh, so other companies, other companies, because uh, maybe today we can't know it. Uh, but maybe we will have pension, because, for example, uh, some people we have some changes in our laws. So in
Yeah.
our laws, and so we hope that we will we will have pension. Okay.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And do public school? I think yes. Do public schools have facilities for educational activities? And oh no, I'm asking about public schools. Do public schools have facilities for educational activities and for skills training?
Uh, yeah, they do have facilities for activities, like they have sports, they have grounds, they have. I mean, sometimes in some public schools there might be some laboratories, science laboratories, but they severely lack. They severely lack in the quality of this infrastructure. It's not modernized. It's not advanced. It's not upgraded. Like, you will not find maybe computer labs, you will not have well equipped libraries, you will not have a lot of different forms of arts, like maybe music, dance, personality development, debating, all these things which are an integral part of the personality development of a child. They
Mhm.
are mostly neglected in public schools because nobody is taking genuine interest in that, you know. I think the problem with government schools and government aided schools is that they lack funding. They lack funding, and if we divert more funds towards these schools, they can upgrade themselves. But as of now, that is not happening, and that's precisely the reason why only people from the lower backgrounds of the economy, people who are poor, people who are indigent, they send their children to these schools. Otherwise, even a lower middle
Mhm.
class, I would say, is sort of grassroots level, economy wise, even they don't prefer to send their children to government schools. If they work hard, they do whatever, but they try to send their children to private schools.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answer.
But
So
I
now,
want to just want to clarify this,
uh,
Valerie. Uh, when I say this, I'm only talking about public schools. So, yes, of
uh-huh.
course, there are a lot of children who go to public school, but the substantial part of the population, they go to private schools. And in private schools, the level of education is very good, and people have mostly, the children have a bright future ahead of themselves when they study in this. I think the only thing that we can focus more on is sprucing up and developing our government and public schools. That is an area which is being neglected. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yes, I've got that. Okay, and nowadays more and more families in Russia choose family education. So we have this form of education, family education, as an alternative to public schools. So we can take a kid out from the school and teach him by our own. The only obligation is to visit school several times a year for assessment. And do you in India have alternative types of educating?
Wow, that's a very, very, interesting question, Valerie, because in India, family education is like an alien concept. It doesn't happen. I know there is another term for it, homeschooling or unschooling, where
Mm-hmm.
you don't send the child to school. In India, this is a very, very rare concept. It is in the nascent stage in its inception, like in the very beginning, only a very few countable number of people are doing this, but it is largely an alien concept. Most of the Indians, they prefer to send their children to schools. India is a country with a huge population, which means
Mm-hmm.
our competition is obviously very high. So parents want their children to get the best of education, the best exposure. They want their children to be geniuses in so they feel that they lack the expertise to teach their children at school, and they want to put them in professional hands. So they don't take
Okay.
they don't take the risk of teaching the children at home. They like go to school, get taught by expert teachers. We will not take risks. So that's the mindset in Indian society. For education, it's mostly the schools. We don't have alternative forms of education. They're not very popular in India. If it starts happening maybe after 5 years, we can see the effect of that. As of now, not popular.
I think because there are a lot of good private schools
Yes. Yes.
with high professional teachers and parents trust those schools, and our Russian parents don't believe in our Russian education.
Oh, it's the opposite. It's the opposite.
and Russian parents are extremely brave people.
I can see that. I
And
can
they
see
trust
you.
themselves only. Okay, we have some minutes or so 4 minutes. We have some
Yeah.
4 minutes, and I think this is my last question. Is India a corrupt country, and how it influences on education system?
As much as I would like to answer it
Russia
in
is
the
corrupt
negative,
country. Russia is corrupt.
yeah, Valerie, as much as I would like to say no, the answer is a big yes. Uh, the corruption in India is unparalleled in some spheres. It's very corrupt, and that, of course, cascades down to our education system. We are a country of almost 1.5 billion people. A lot of us pay taxes, which means our government has the money to spend towards the growth, the progress, the development of different aspects. Yet yet things are not materializing as much as they should, and that the direct reason for that is corruption. Most of the politicians are corrupt. So like I said, the government schools, they lack the basic facilities like computers. Technology plays a pivotal role in our life these days. Yet these government schools don't have computer labs. Their children don't get computer exposure. Why? Because all the money is going into the pockets of a few corrupt politicians, which should have been spent towards this purpose. So yeah, it directly affects the education system. If people were more, if people were honest, if there was more integrity, I think it would also affect our education system, because government school will start doing better.
Thank you for your answers. And I missed one question about free school meal.
Oh
It
yeah.
is really interesting. Do the Indian schools, the public schools, have free school meal?
Yes, yes, Valerie, indeed we do. We have a scheme called midday meal scheme, in which the government, they provide lunches, free lunches to children studying in
Oh,
government and government aided schools. This is not because they cannot afford to eat. This is to
mhm.
provide them better nutrition. This is to enhance the nutritional value of their food, so to provide them some nutritious vegetables, fruits, along with the other things that they can afford to eat. So this is like a supplement for their regular meal. So we do have free midday meal programs.
Three what? I'm sorry.
Midday,
Three.
midday, midday meals.
Ah,
It's
three.
called midday meals
What?
because it is given in the middle of the day.
Yes, midday. I understand, and three midday programs. What does it mean? So,
It's mid,
do they eat three times a day?
no, just
No.
once. Not three, Valerie. Free,
Ah, free,
free.
free. Oh, my bad ears.
I think you can blame it on the
Free midday
internet.
meal. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's free. They're just provided one meal when they're in the school during their lunchtime to
Mhm.
supplement their nutrition. They supplement their
Oh,
nutrition needs. Yeah.
that's very important thing. And I see that our interview is going going to finish and going to end. So, thank
Thank
you
you so
for thank you for your answers. Of course, I have one question about your advice is how to get better education in India. Only one advice: what to do.
I think you know, I wish it depended on me. I think the one thing that I would really like to see happening is that the children studying in government schools get English knowledge and computer education in school. I think those two things are imperative in today's time in order to grow in India. So if that happens, I think a lot of problems will be solved. The poor can come out of their poverty more easily if that happens, right?
Okay, thank you. English and IT. So these
English and
are
I.
English and IT. Thank you, Swati. Thank you. See
Thank
you
you,
next
Valerie.
time.
I
Thank you
really
for
enjoyed answering the questions. You're a very nice interviewer with a very disarming smile, so it
thank you.
made me very easy. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you next time. Bye.